This is Ned's AFL Unpopular Opinions.
Hello and welcome to another episode of AFL Unpopular Opinions. I'm your host, Ryan Cook. You may know me from previous NRL episodes. I also fill in here on the Snapshot with Rocky. Some breaking news here on the show this week. We have to farewell the great man Dylan Lynch, who's served as the host here for the last 3 years. He's done a bang-up job. His time at Entain has come to an end, and we wish Dill the very best. I'm sure he's going to pop up somewhere sometime very soon, but he's on to greener pastures, we hope. I've enjoyed working with Dill for the last 6-7 years I've known him. Passionate AFL man, passionate Tigers man, so as I said, we wish him all the best. On that note, I welcome in Tommy Rockliff and Alastair Lynch. Boys, how are we?
Yes, very well. Yes,
Rhino.
Wish him all the best. Good luck, Dill, with wherever he ends up. But yeah,
Absolutely.
So.
Do you white hand him? What's going on? You've got the hosting gig.
I've got powers here, mate.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. Don't take a week off.
Don't take a week off.
That's the motto he's always lived by.
Jesus.
Boys, how do we see the weekend of footy? Probably the best weekend of footy all year, maybe of the last, 10 years. The stat is that 6 games decided by 10 points or less. And this has been the lowest average victory margin in the VFL AFL era since 1970.
Don't come into this podcast and do research as well.
Is that not allowed?
Show us up.
Jeez. No, good round of footy. I didn't get to see all the games. I was travelling a bit, but some cracking games. Some weren't of the greatest standard, but good close games. And the one I was at, Gold Coast Bulldogs, cracking game. And as much as the Bulldogs had some issues, geez, their midfield's good, which makes the Suns' victory even better.
Yes, I tend to agree. That was a good game, and I was watching that. Bontempelli started on fire. I've got some feedback as well. So Tim Nodding.
Feedback.
I think he had a couple of quiet refreshments on Friday night. Yeah. He messaged me and said he wouldn't have Bontempelli in the top 15.
15
players in the competition.
Really? Well, it's funny you say that. I got feedback as well.
Yes.
You know, if you're thinking in this caper, if someone's going to do a player list, who's the doyen? Who's the great leader who started all this?
Oh, Mike Sheehan.
Mike Sheehan.
Oh.
Mike Sheehan's on to me.
He's on to you. Who did he have?
He said, he's given me a clip. Well, I'll take it as a clip. He said, I hope you're not building the Tasmanian list.
Wow.
No, I think he agreed. I think he agreed with. I'll take it as he agreed with most. But no, I had Bontempelli at 2. I think he thinks he's 1.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it.
No, and watching, and I'm going to stick with Dacos as much as Mike smacked me, but watching Bont Saturday night, he's a star. He's a star and he's big and he can play anywhere, and that's his greatest asset is he can play anywhere, and they almost need him in the forward line.
Yeah, well, I think Dacos can as well. We've seen him go forward and he gave his defender a few twitchy moments, but I think Bontempelli, he's that match winner for me that can go anywhere, do it in the midfield, he can sit behind the ball, he can sit in front of the ball. So we got some feedback, but...
Any you want to read out, mate? Or?
Well, no, that was that. Tim Nodding, I couldn't believe it. I nearly fell off my chair.
Top 15, that's a big claim.
I know he hasn't been there, but we might have to get Mike on to...
Yeah, can you organise that?
No, I probably won't read exactly what Mike said. Yeah, but he said, I hope you're not recruiting for the Devils. So that's a decent clip by the man that started all the lists, and he's a great man. And
you asked last week if you were going to ask the top 3 who I would pick if I was number 1 off the board before we get into the games. I think Butters I'd have at number 1. Again, he proved on the weekend when he got going. He's the heart and soul of a footy club, I think. So
and how old would he be?
He would be
26 footy?
No, I don't think he'd be that old, would he? He'd be 24 maybe?
So, all right.
5. He might be a bit older. Just let me quickly get his date of birth.
I like...
He's 24.
Oh, rightio. Yep. Now he's in the window.
24, so
I would say and as I said to you last
25
week,
in September.
We were just making those announcements with our list manager and recruiting manager, and there'll be another one in the next couple of days. But I'm sure he's up on the whiteboard.
If he'd be my number 1. So when he come in, 28?
28.
So he signed a 2-year extension, which will get...
So he has done that, has he?
He hasn't signed. He's been offered a 2-year plus a trigger for 6 or
Oh,
something.
so when's that making come out?
So it makes you come out right at the sweet time. He's probably number one, I think.
Yeah.
And then it's the second and third, any order, I'd go Rao and Sarong. I think you build your team off a inside mid-grunt player. And those three ooze leadership qualities, potentially probably your first captain, and then build off that.
Yeah, no, I like
You'd be
that.
happy with that, yeah.
I think any one of those three.
I'd like that. And as with the feedback we got on our last list, maybe, we can get some feedback on, who would be in that top three. Because there'll be some, and with the way the list build will go, is you're front-ending some contracts. So there'll be some reasonable cash up for grabs for that top three group. So, it'd be interesting what other people think. Who would be targeted?
I think they're the sweet spot. But games of footy, Freo, they can't win at home now. They're cooked, aren't they?
Huge concerns. Huge concerns. The talent they got through the midfield and not being able to put that onto the scoreboard is a massive issue. To lose that one at home was, that was career limiting.
Jamie Elliott as well, another 6. Like, he's been hampered with injury throughout his career, but he's a star.
What do you how do you feel about Collingwood now? Because that's a pretty gutsy win on a short backup, coming off that loss to the Cats. Are they rightful to be premiership favourites?
Oh, yeah, they're in the mix. Can they sustain it for the they rested a few players.
That's the thing. They're playing the long game by resting a few players.
Yeah, which is smart. So I think they'll be thereabouts. And again, you've just got to play at the right time of year. Brisbane, you'd expect them to roll over North Melbourne down there. They didn't, but they're still on top. So Brisbane is still the team, I think. Once they fire, they're going to be hard to stop.
Well, they're so deep in their list. But going back to Collingwood as well, managing player or ground time for some players. But one of your favourites, Dan Houston, he can't fire a shot at the moment.
Yeah. I think it takes time.
But not being critical. But the reality is he hasn't played to the level that we know he is. Like multiple Australian, or at least multiple squad or Australian.
I think he's been the last 2, maybe even 3.
Yeah, but just the way he uses the ball and runs off halfback, so he's going to be a huge asset as the season goes on.
Yeah, I think he'll get better.
Yeah.
You know what it's like when you go to a new system, new team. So I think it'll take a bit of time. He's had the suspension as well, so he didn't play at the start of the year, then he's missed a couple through. So I think he'll get better. But
I agree. Brisbane, Collingwood seem to be the standouts.
Then you sort of get into your Hawthorns, Geelongs after that.
Yeah, Hawthorn, Geelong, like Dogs, Giants. Giants were good again, but Giants still up and down. Expect them to smack Freo this weekend. Geelong go over, take on Port Adelaide. Their record at Adelaide Oval is incredible, I think, as well, which we'll get to the records a little bit later at venues. But the Crows were good again, but it's pretty even. It's pretty even. Still up for grabs, I would have thought. I don't know what the market's suggesting on Neds there, but
we'll talk about that in the snapshot. I do want to quickly talk about Fremantle though, because Rocky, you've sort of flown the flag in the past about Justin Longmuir and how long his tenancy is going to be there at Fremantle. Where to from here? Like, they played a nice 4 quarters. We haven't seen them do that much at all this season, but it's clear that they aren't up to the scratch of maybe the top 6 teams in the competition. What do you think the future is for Fremantle? Where are they going?
Well, I go back to the pre-season and everyone had these raps on them being top 4. I just
most. No, I don't think we did.
We didn't.
No.
I didn't buy into it because I just didn't think that they'd shown enough. Their list suggests that they should be up there and should be capable. They've got all areas covered. Their midfield's elite. They've got a solid defence, intercept players, run off halfback, and their forward half. They've got the keys. They've got the small. So they should be better than what they are. I mean, with the potential coaches out there, and we probably haven't spoken about it, like the pressure cooker on coaches and the ones available, you've got a ready-made replacement potentially in Simpson sitting over in Perth, which would be a huge coup for them. To get him to come from West Coast, obviously 12 months off, I think everyone sits there and sits there in awe with the way he describes the game at times and the way he talks about it. We know Horse is out as well. So I think the number one, we know that Bevo's out, but everyone keeps saying he's probably coaching the best he ever has. So be surprised if he left there. Port Adelaide have made the move. Longmuir is probably the one that potentially could get Rishold, I think. Like if they don't play finals, which they potentially don't play finals with the way they're shaping up at the moment, and we're seeing really poor performances on the road. If they have another poor performance this week, he's gone on to a full-time contract, I think. Or,
the end of the season. Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised if they make a move.
Yeah, well, I'm sure he's very good and he's different to the way he presents on camera, but at the moment he just doesn't look confident in the way he's presenting. He looks, unsure of himself. Pressure is building, but, massive game. Like, there's a number of really big games this week, and that is one of them. Yep. GWS Freo is huge for both teams.
Their next 3 weeks is huge. So they got GWS, Port Adelaide, the Gold Coast Suns, all before a round 13 bye. Sean Darcy might be done with a knee. So it's looking a little bit bleak for the Dockers.
Yeah, especially if Port Adelaide go over there and roll them on their home deck again. I mean, that would be a sure sign that things they're in a bit of strife. I mean, then they're going to have to travel to the Goldie, aren't they? Yeah, they take on Goldie up there, which is near impossible to win at the moment.
Big few travels, so they're going to Sydney this weekend, back home, then the Gold Coast.
Back and forth, yeah.
Against high-quality teams. Yeah, this is going to be a huge 3 weeks for them.
Let's rewind back to Friday night. St Kilda 62, Carlton 77. Bit of a tough game to watch, very low-scoring game, not a lot of flow to it. I thought Carlton's pressure was very good. Saints didn't have the best inside 50 entries, not very clean. You could sort of throw St Kilda in with Fremantle in that category of they're not really going to contend for anything this year. I'm sort of ready to put a pen through their finals chances. Are you guys there with them?
Well, they're vastly different to Freo, though. You have a look at the talent pool on both lists. You can what you look at, from my point of view, you look at the St Kilda list and say you're almost redeveloping. There's some young talent coming through. There's some top-end talent that they need to find, I think, and that's why they're throwing, the kitchen sink at De Koning to come across, which I reckon is the wrong pick for a ruckman. With all due respect, he's a very good ruckman, but that's a lot of money. So I think I see them in vastly different conversations. I think Fremantle for the last couple of years have been unders, but developing young list. I think St Kilda are sort of a year or two behind them. So you'll get good performances like last week, but the sustainability of such a young team, I think, is very tough.
They would be missing Membry. Like, they have to be, don't
massively.
They? Yeah. He's been really good for Collingwood, but
albeit he didn't play a lot last year.
No, but Friday night, they should have won that game of footy. There is no reason why they didn't win that game. Carlton had 2 or 3 out, and they should have run over the top of them. They had the opportunity to. They just couldn't find a way to get it done. So they'll be disappointed with that. Good, tough win from Carlton. Couple down. Still not convinced on them either. But, Friday night, hopefully we can get back to some good footy. Sydney and Carlton Friday night, not the best.
No.
Sydney.
Not the best on form, but another critical game.
Yeah, for both clubs.
Huge game for both clubs. You think if either team drops that, there's probably not a red pen, but she's...
a red question mark.
There's a big question mark over them moving forward.
The unpopular opinion as well. The umpires are still all over the shop. Did you see a couple of those howlers on the weekend? The Cozzy Pickett one in the goal square where he got tackled by the legs.
Yeah, I did see that, yeah.
Oh, really?
Not paid. Like, literally took his legs out, tripped him. And then there was a couple in the Sydney game late in that one that potentially cost them the game. And I think they gave away, 6 50-metre penalties or something. Their first 3 goals, Essendon, came from 50-metre penalties. So
they haven't had a good year.
Umpires are a bit off the boil, in my opinion.
Yeah, they are. And that's where it has been raised. Maybe it's raised this time of year for the last 30 years about full-time umpires.
Well, I think
there's a full-time pro squad should be assembled. And it's not just about decisions. It's just investing in the game, growing the game, getting out to clubs, getting out to leagues, enhancing the talent pool out there. But I think there's a role for at least half of the AFL umpires to be professional. Now, some of them wouldn't want to because they've got full-time careers, but I think there's a great opportunity to grow that talent pool by having professionals in there spending more time on decisions but more time in game development.
Now, I know you're in the air a bit. I don't know whether you're seeing the Saturday afternoon game, the blowout of the weekend, the 35-point thriller, Hawthorn and Melbourne, but that was a horrible game to watch.
No. Until the fourth quarter when Hawthorn decided to play.
Hawthorn decided to go bang, 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 but that was an absolute howler of a game.
Yeah, I think I nodded off after an overnight flight. I think I nodded off, to be fair, just before I was about to head to TIO Stadium, so no, I missed that one.
Melbourne shot ducks, aren't they? I know I've banged on for it. We spoke about Longmuir, but Goodwin potentially as well. Like Clayton Oliver's not the player that he was. We know that he's had his struggles and whatnot, but they're all out of whack. Petrarca, I
thought that was Petrarca's best game since his injury last year. I will say that.
Yeah.
But other than that, hard to draw positives.
They'll get worse though, won't they?
I think they have to, don't they?
Yeah, they'll get worse. Their Hall of Famer is getting older. How long can Gorney keep going?
Well, not at
that level.
He keeps going, yeah. I mean, Ruckman can sort of hang around. They don't do a great deal in the game. But
well, he's one that does.
He kept them in the game.
Yeah,
the way
he's
he
a
played,
superstar.
and then Hawthorn started to shift the way they moved the footy and played with a bit more excitement, and they blew them away pretty quickly. But
they'll go backwards before they play finals again.
Yeah,
so over the next few years.
Again, do they move on Goodwin and bring in a rebuilding coach, or someone tried?
Yeah, Goodwin's probably second favourite behind Longmuir to get the arse, I'd have to say. Do you guys think, though, with Hawthorn or any team, Brisbane's done this a fair bit this season, do you think teams are strategically just trying to play 1-2 quarters against these lesser opponents to save themselves for later in the season, or is it just...
It's not a strategy to play poorly, but the challenge is with teams that have gone or won the flag, say for the Brisbane Lions, is you've got so much work to do to get back to replicate what you did. And so I think it's fair to say, and I think Fags is even not, maybe hasn't said it, but he's alluded to it, that maybe the drive and the urgency in his team hasn't quite been there early. And I think he had to give him a bit of a reset a couple of weeks ago with a bit of a cook to get him going again. But yeah, certainly not a strategy, but the urgency is not there. That's why I think the upside for Brisbane is so extreme. Their talent pool, Kadeem Coleman played in the twos, played very well, so that's his second game back. Tom Duday's played on the weekend as well, so they're going to get more players back so that they look good. But no, I think it's more the mental side of the game, that drive to be better.
Yep.
But there's a handful of players that are trying to still get their first premiership, so they'll be pushing the more mature players.
And for Hawthorn, I don't think you want to be a team that flicks a switch, and I don't think you can.
No, you can't.
You certainly
Not
can't
as a young
prepare.
team like that.
You certainly can't prepare for it either. Like, you go out there and realistically, you'd prefer to do it in the first 15 minutes and then get the game on your terms. So that's the way to conserve energy. If you're out in front by 7-8 goals early in the game, instead of leaving it till the last quarter like they had to, it's an arm wrestle, real contest, and then for 15 minutes they turn it on in the last to blow them away. So I don't think so. I don't think teams would be able to prepare that way.
No, and the other thing is teams have had opportunities to analyse what Brisbane does, what Hawthorn does. So there's strategies to combat their game plans. And we saw that executed beautifully when Collingwood just kept Brisbane out of the corridor and won clearances. And I think that happens. And we saw it last year with the first 2/3 of the season, Sydney by far the best team in the comp. But people analyse them. It's hard to just go from coast to coast in the season and dominate, because there's so much scrutiny on how you play and what are your major assets you've got to take away from teams, and I think that's happening.
The game catches up, that's what you're telling us.
Oh, that's it.
Talking about fourth quarters, Sydney 63, Essendon 71. The Bombers did most of their scoring in the first half. Not a great game of footy to watch either. We've spoken about the Saints, we've spoken about the Dockers as disappointments. There couldn't be a bigger disappointment this year, though, than the Sydney Swans. Rocky, I've asked you multiple weeks this year, can we put a pen through them? You've said yes. Lynchy, are you there with the Swans?
I'm not putting a pen straight through them just yet, because they can absolutely get on a roll, and if it's on the back of their forward line functioning a bit. I reckon there's been it's underrated the admission of Papley.
Papley and Goulden.
Yeah, well, Papley and Goulden. But I reckon we sort of look at Goulden and say, great midfielder, carries the ball, kicks the ball inside 50 well. But I think Papley, he adds so much to that forward line, because they haven't had a big forward that takes marks really for a while. And so when the ball hits the ground, he adds plenty. So I think they could get on a run. Now, I don't know how long they are until they come back, those players, but they want to hope it's quick. But then I wouldn't write them off yet.
Skipper to come back as well, Mills. So
he hasn't played since he's been skipper.
Yeah, 2 years.
Has he tossed the coin yet?
I think once. So, I mean, there's upside to the Swans, but you look at the top 8, it's going to be hard to knock any of them out, in my opinion. You've got Brisbane, Collingwood, Hawthorn, Suns, Crows, Dogs, Cats, Giants. Like, there's potentially one that you can maybe squeeze out, but who comes in? Like, I've got no confidence in Essendon, Carlton, Freo, Saints, Port, Swans, Melbourne.
All right, if Swans lose to Carlton this week, the red pin's through.
Yeah, it has to be, surely. It's too much ground to make up.
That's it.
But the big one on Saturday night, we had 2 crackers. You were obviously at one, the Gold Coast Suns and the Dogs, but the Showdown. And unpopular or popular opinion is that is by far the best rivalry in Australian footy now. And I don't think anything compares to it. People say, Collingwood, Carlton. I don't think it's the same. Particularly the West, the derby's nowhere near it anymore. We know the Q Clash is still trying to grow, but it's not there. But the Port and Crows, the way they come up against each other, I think it's a build-up. It divides the state, genuinely divides the state.
Oh, it's great. I agree with you. In the AFL times, was that the last 30 or 40 years, I think it is clearly, the old VFL times, Collingwood, Carlton, that sort of stuff, I get that, Hawthorn, Essendon. But in the AFL era, I think that's clearly the biggest game. And it's great that it doesn't matter where each team sits on the ladder. It becomes a great contest. And what is it, 28-29?
28-29, I think,
Yeah. Man, how good's that over such a long period of time that the win-loss margins are so tight?
And 5 points. Like, you go into that game, you watch Port Adelaide last week get blown away by the Bulldogs, so you're like, they're no chance. They have 5 changes. You're like, the Crows by how much? But then they just find a way, both teams. It's happened in the past where Port were flying, the Crows would get up and win the game. And you're like, how?
That's sort of what the derby misses. Is a lot of those games are just blowouts. And they're tough to watch.
Blowouts now, and they were good, the Crows, but Port Adelaide probably should have won it. They had 22 inside 50s in the last quarter. I think they only kicked 2 or 3, 5 to 6. So they had their chances to win that game of footy. But I think it's head and shoulders above any other rivalry within the competition.
You got a great Showdown memory for any of the games you played in or anything like that?
Yeah, well, there was one, the Motlop goal. So I think it may have been my first Showdown. I think we'd lost 5 on the bounce.
Yeah.
And we were down, found a way to get back into it. The Crows won the clearance. I think Dougal Howard picked it up, just bombed it forward. Big contest. It might have been McGovern, drops it. Motlop picks it up, check side from 50.
Yeah,
and then we won. Yeah, incredible. It was, I think we won by a couple of points.
Was it a Showdown when, was it Paddy Ryder just tap over the back?
No, that was St Kilda.
That was St Kilda, was it?
But, I mean, Robbie Gray, he just got up for them.
Yeah. What do you have, 4 medals?
Maybe 5.
Yeah, right.
Maybe 5. I think he just, they would have had nightmares about Robbie Gray lacing up the hoose. But you speak about the Showdown, so you go into that. My first Showdown, I didn't really think much of it coming from Queensland. Robbie didn't say much before a game. Showdown in the rooms before a game, he was very verbal about his hatred for the Crows and how important it was. And then you realise, like, you start to get goosebumps before you run out, and then it's game on.
So where'd that hatred come from? Was it a personal thing or just in the build-up of these games?
Yeah, it's just a two-club town. Yeah. And, I mean, the focus is on them both so heavily, and it's just the hatred. Like, you obviously like the guys from the other team, but when the siren goes, it's on.
Yeah.
Do you get told that when you first get to the club? Is that instilled straight away? Like, we hate the Crows?
Pretty much. Like, and you think when you're building up to it and to the game, you're like, oh, this isn't real. And then you get to the week of, and the supporters, Port Adelaide supporters, are telling you got to win this one. You got Crows supporters telling you to get nicked in the street. Like, it's full on. And I think I've seen someone say it literally divides families. Yeah. Like it does for that week. It's incredible. It's incredible. Great. Something great to experience.
Where do you stand on a losing player winning the medal?
Oh, yeah. I was surprised by the voting. I must say, I don't know whether you've seen it, Lynchy, but Tilthorpe was the difference for me. His ability to come out and take marks. I thought Rosie and Butters were probably the best. So my 4 best players would have been Rosie, Butters, Tilthorpe and Bergman. Bergman did a massive role on Jordan Dawson, kept him, I think, to 2 or 3 disposals in the first quarter, just completely shut him out, which he's never done before, gone in the midfield. So his role was really important. Rosie ended up with 14 votes. Tilthorpe ended up with 5. 2 people voted for Tilthorpe Like if he wasn't there, the Crows don't win that game of footy. So I was surprised, but I mean, Rosie had 30-odd kicked a goal, nearly 700 metres gained. So I thought he was really important for Port as well. I'm not one that thinks. I mean, you've seen it in the past when Gary Ablett's had 45 disposals and blown a game away, kicked 3 goals, but they may have lost by 50 points. He's still clearly best on ground. So I'm not against a losing team winning it. And when it's by 5 points, I'm comfortable with that.
Yeah, no, I'm the same. Biggest impact on the game, not necessarily on the result, but yeah, who had the biggest presence. And I suppose that's where I voted for Dunkley over Will Ashcroft last week in the Q Clash. I felt that the biggest impact on the game was Dunkley's job on Rao and the fact that he did some stuff offensively as well. So, yeah, no, I get that.
Let's fast forward to Sunday afternoon before we throw to a break. A couple of good games as well. Geelong 101, Giants 105. This is probably the game of the round in terms of a spectacle. 10 lead changes. Geelong trailed for the majority of it though. Jesse Hogan kicked 7. Tom Stewart sort of cost Geelong his absence. The Giants. This is a really tricky one to try and pin this team down. Are they still a top 4 contender?
Absolutely. I'm staying in there with them. I reckon their talent is top 4, and we saw parts of it on the weekend. I think some instances that Finn Callahan was involved with early, he's a running ability to get back and support his back line, and then he runs, then changes angles and just opens everything up and kicks it so well. So I thought, what he can do as a star of the competition. Tom Green's best game. And is that the most dominant performance by a forward we've seen for a long time, Hogan?
I think so. And Stringer went down early, kicked 2 in the first quarter, and he was gone. I think Hogan, incredible. And hasn't been there all year. I think I'm still on the Giants. I think there's still a big sound coming from the West.
I think. Well, they've got the talent.
Yeah,
it just hasn't functioned. And again, clubs analysing, game plans and strategies and negating them, and you've got to respond to that. And they certainly responded well. But that's another incredible win.
They're hit and miss, which is the hard thing to catch at the moment because they've lost games where we thought they should have won, the Dogs and stuff like that. But for some reason, they have a love to go down to Geelong, which we'll touch on. But, I mean, both Greens, Toby gets going, Whitfield has his best, another good game off half-back. So they've got all areas covered. So they've been there before. Yes, they haven't won that premiership, but they've been to finals. So I think there's enough upside for them to be a top 4 team.
Lockie Ash, All-Australian halfback,
well,
the way he's going.
He's been super this year, hasn't he?
I reckon he'd be leading their best and fairest. And, he's run. You talk about, we all instantly talk about Whitfield and what he can offer off halfback. Lockie Ash, he's covering more distance, I reckon, and then he kicks it longer. So, very, very impressive with another 25.
Taylor down back. So they've got all areas covered.
Taylor's your boy. You've shouted him out a couple of times.
Yeah, chucked him into the top 10.
Yeah,
snuck him in.
No, fair enough.
Little text there from Sheeny.
No, Mike, he's got my number, but I didn't get the text. So.
No, I got the feedback.
Let's go to Sunday evening, the draw. North Melbourne 71, Brisbane Lions 71. Funnily enough, the Lions also drew on Mother's Day last year against the Crows, which is kind of weird. Lions were outplayed in the final term. Just looked like some pretty tired boys out there on the paddock at Ninja Stadium. Lynchy, where are you at with the Lions on that?
What's Ninja, by the way? Is that a sponsor?
I have no idea.
No idea. You better Google it. I don't know.
You're from Tassie?
Yeah, I know. And I was down there. Well, what they might have struggled with when I was down there Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and it was snow down to 600 metres. It was snow on the mountain. It was freezing. So they might have struggled with
When did they get in?
No, I don't know. They would have got in there. It was Sunday game. They would have got in there Saturday.
Saturday, yep.
Yeah, would have got in there Saturday. And that'd be no excuse. I just think they're just going. There's been a couple of games. I thought their game against the Suns was powerful and they were up for that one. And they probably backed off a little bit. So they're just going at the moment and just relying on a bit of talent to get them over the line, and it wasn't good enough. And a team in the bottom 4 can bite you on the arse if you're not up there, and they're going to have to switch on.
Yeah, they certainly are. I mean, there's no excuses really. Like,
they'd be shattered with that one.
Yeah.
I reckon Fags might give them another reset on the back of that one. Just a little clip. Just
bring your mouth guards.
I'm not allowed to. The Players Association will jump in if you do that these days.
Well, I think, and they get an opportunity this week. They got Melbourne coming up on their home deck, so I would imagine they would have come back today, but couldn't see a flight leaving today.
No, you'd imagine.
8 or 9 o'clock, so they're going to have a short recovery week.
They normally try to get charters out, don't they?
Yeah.
To get you home.
But again, if they get home at midnight, like, they're going to have a light week to start the week, so they want to be prime. You wouldn't want to cough up a home ground loss to Melbourne. So they'll have to fire up. They have to bounce back. But North Melbourne, like, we've been calling for a performance like that, so you got to give them some credit. They had the opportunity to win that game, fought hard against the reigning premiers, and there is certainly upside there to North Melbourne. It's just a matter of getting it to click for 4 quarters.
As much as it would be frustrating for supporters, they'd take some hope out of that.
Yeah.
I think, they were the reigning premiers. We competed well. Yeah, we maybe should have won it, but they'd be wrapped. What about your little mate, Dane Zorko? How much of the balls he had again? 39.
Did he?
Wow.
Just dominated. He's getting better and better, isn't he? Fine wine. So it'll be interesting with Coleman coming back in.
Yeah.
What happens to Zorko, whether his impact on the game decreases? Does he stay at half-back?
Oh, I have to.
You'd be a brave man to put him half
imagine
forward.
moving that magnet and putting him down the forward line. But that might be an option for Canete Coleman. Just ease him back in the twos a little bit and then bring him in, just float him through half forward. Maybe have a look at half forward rather than slot him straight back to half back. But he offers something different to Dane. But Dane Zorko, as much as I sort of said a couple of weeks ago, I reckon Harris Andrews is their most important player. The change in their team last year on the back of Zorko's ball use going into that corridor into the centre square changed Brisbane. Yeah, he's staying there.
Well, they're the number 1 team in the competition from moving it from back half to scoring. So from their back 50.
Research.
So,
Look at you, numbers man.
Wow.
We've improved on this show.
We've lifted.
It was a low bar, but let's take a break, boys. We'll come back and then we'll chat some home ground advantages. You are listening to AFL Unpopular Opinions. Boys, we've already spoken about the Giants beating the Cats at the Cattery on the weekend. The Giants have now won 5 in a row at Alphabet Stadium, as I like to call it. We also saw the Suns get up in Darwin, loving the humidity up there. And then North Melbourne plays very well in Hobart as well. So those are a few of the home away from home ground advantages that I could think of. But I wanted to throw to you guys. Is there a place where you like to play and is there a place where you didn't like to play during your careers?
Well, I think the home venues is where you like to play. So you take them off the table. Obviously,
what was your favourite home venue? You say you got 2, basically.
Yeah, well, it's hard. For me, it's hard because when I was at Brisbane, we were shit. So I think a full packed Gabba is really, really good. Yeah. And I get a bit envious of the boys now, like playing in sold-out stadium. Can't go past Adelaide Oval, packed, particularly the Showdown. Yeah. Like when it's your home crowd like it was on the weekend, pretty special to be able to do that. The one venue I did go enjoy going to, we were just talking about it off air, is China.
It was very kind to you.
It was a good venue. I went one year. I did my hamstring down in Tassie on the Saturday.
And they still sent you?
They took me on the Monday. I had to do one run through. I think Chris Davies, the footy manager, wanted me to go. So I got on the plane and went over there. But it's a good week over there.
Oh, it's a solid week. As a commentator, I can give you that feedback. Yeah. So, well, you've got to do the sponsors dinners and get out and about and promote the game. So that was nice and solid. Actually, Shanghai was a nice city.
Yeah, it's good.
Beautiful city.
Good.
And, great. Very good. But some of the venues that I didn't like, I was just having a look.
What did you like?
Oh, Princess Park. So early days at Carlton. What's it called now? I don't know what it's called now.
Icon.
Icon. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So Princess Park, Fitzroy, that was our home ground.
Right.
And great venue, get a good crowd in there as well. Used to love playing there. So that was clearly my favourite. And then when I came up here, as you said, the full house at the Gabba, that was just rocking. So that was so there was the 2 home grounds for my career. I didn't play at the at Carrara as a Brisbane player, so they were just as a Fitzroy player. So I didn't win there. Never got a win at Carrara. There was a couple of places I didn't get a win. There's a few places we didn't get a win for a while. So never won at Carrara, never won at Moorabbin. Fitzroy had 3 games where we sold to North Hobart. So a small ground down there. Never won there. Only won there, and that was my home ground for Hobart Footy Club. Only won there for Hobart and Tassie when we beat Victoria. So, yes, zipping 3 there. And what was the other one? Oh, Windy Hill.
Ooh.
Windy Hill.
Bombers.
0 and 4.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, so, yeah, there was a few I didn't like. But, yeah, a couple of very good, fond memories for Princess Park and the Gabba.
Did you like Tassie, Rocky?
I hated Tassie. I was just looking then because I wasn't sure. So I didn't win in Geelong, but had a decent record there. Averaged 33 down there.
Oh, so bring it back to yourself.
Couldn't get the win. And
how many disposals did you have?
33. We almost won that. Remember the year Vossi got sacked, 2013?
Yeah.
We, I think Ryan Lester had a snap and didn't quite get over, and they didn't pay a hold in the ball. So we should have won down there. My record in Tassie was 0 and 8.
Wow.
So we always went down there. Brizzy and Port went down there and just could not. Like Hawthorn, you think about how powerful they were. They've coughed up a couple over the last couple of years, but for a period, they were unstoppable down there.
Was it did they go 28 straight or something?
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. Well, you're a Hawk supporter, so you know when
it was called Aurora.
When they used to pencil it in, you'd go, "Oh, that's just a win." So yeah, I think maybe my first year I went down as an emergency and Brisbane won. From memory, maybe in 2009. You'd have to have a look at that, but it didn't play. But yeah, 0 and 8 in Tassie. So
what was your record in New Zealand?
1 and 0.
1 and 0.
Yeah, that was our first win. Yeah,
one of the favourites.
Unbeaten in New Zealand. So Wellington. Yeah, there's a few. 1 and 0 over in China.
So how many? So take us through the venues you played.
Not heaps. I played at Carrara, Adelaide Oval, Docklands, Ballarat. 1 and 0. Footy Park.
Yeah.
That was a good venue to go to. I didn't mind that.
Yep.
The Gabba, Jingwan Stadium, Cardinia Park, MCG, Canberra. I was 1 and 0. 1 down there. Perth Stadium, which is, I would have played at both. So Perth Stadium and Subiaco. SCG wasn't too kind to me. 1 and 4 there. Wellington and York Park. So a fair few.
So I was Carrara, Docklands, Footy Park in Adelaide, the Gabba, Cardinia Park or GMHPA Stadium, MCG, Moorabbin, North Hobart, Princess Park, SCG, Stadium Australia. Did you play out there?
Nah. So you played a final there, didn't you?
Yeah. Full house against the Swans out there. Subiaco, Victoria Park. This is giving my age away. The Wacker, Waverley, Western Oval and Windy Hill. So, yeah, they're all home and away games.
It's a fair list.
Yeah.
What was your records at Cardinia?
Cardinia Park, where are we here? 7 games, 4 and 3.
Okay.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty good, for down there. But, yeah, so, no, there's some good home ground advantages. And the one you were flagging before also was Gold Coast.
Yes, yep.
So they've won their last 7 up in Darwin. That's a fair record, isn't it? I mean, that's a great advantage to have.
Yeah, well, we spoke about them potentially shouldn't go there, but maybe they should go there.
Well, so this is what I think with, the AFL talks about growing the game and, growing that sort of bigger financial pot, I suppose, but growing the game in Queensland. So I truly believe that whilst it's been good for the Suns to be in Darwin, I think you shouldn't take away their games from People First Stadium on the Gold Coast. They should have 11 home games down there. So I think what they should do is absolutely you want to grow because that's a region for the Suns and the AFL. Still play the Suns up there twice each year. So do this, the 5-day break, but have it as an away game. And get some of the other teams that are based in Melbourne that hardly fly, get them to play and have it on a rotation basis. So get them to play one of their home games in Darwin. So the AFL is growing the game. It's supporting the Gold Coast, but you're not taking away from the Gold Coast. The Gold Coast supporters, as you're trying to build, and especially as they're getting better, you want them to be predictable. Every second week, you've got a game on the Gold Coast. So you just go there and bank it. The fact as we've said, with the cyclone being an issue. They've only played 2 games, is it?
I think 2, yeah.
So 2 games on the coast. So that's not great for building the game. Now, the junior numbers are all fantastic, but you need them to be regularly there. And so it's a bit unusual this year. But this chunk here in the middle of the year, I think shouldn't be taken away from the Suns. Play them up there, but make them a... One year it's a Melbourne home game, then it's a Dogs home game, and just rotate. The teams that are playing 16 and 17 games in Melbourne, get them to have one of their games as a home game up in Darwin. So I think that's the best way to grow the game. And the AFL should look at it because it is compromising the Gold Coast build.
North would be happy to go there because they're taking one of their home games to Perth, aren't they?
Well, and I think that's it. I mean, sacrificing one of your games, one of your home games out of Melbourne, but you get a nice check for doing it, for growing the game. Now, the Suns are funded by the AFL. Let's face it, they're funded by the AFL anyway. So we need them to be sustainable. So let's grow the Gold Coast so that they actually can function and support themselves. But if you're going to pay, don't pay Gold Coast. Pay one of the other teams to go up there. So like on the weekend, make it a Bulldogs home game, which is, again, compromised because they've got the Ballarat stuff as well. So you probably wouldn't want to do both. But give them a check to go up there and grow the game, not the Suns.
Are there many Suns fans up in Darwin for these games? I've never been, so I don't know.
Like all Dogs through the TV.
No, and absolutely, we were talking about the dog support was great. Yeah, no, it was fantastic to see the dog support. And just you know what, what was it, 10,000 people there? It was full of passionate AFL people. They just love the game up there. And that's why I agree, get games up there. I reckon it's really important, and the talent that we see come through there, I think is great. But no, they love their footy up there, but it was mostly dog supporters.
That's what I would have expected, yeah. They just love the footy. Boys, we're about to get out of here.
Well, what records do you have for us? Because we sort of cut you off.
Records?
Of the ovals. So the Giants...
I don't have that in front of me, to be honest.
Sorry. So the Giants obviously won, 6 or 7 in a row now down at Cardinia Park?
5, wasn't it? 5, yeah.
And then you've got...
Suns 7.
Suns 7.
Yep. I don't know what North's at Hobart would have to be.
1 in a row. No, I don't.
Half in a row.
No, I don't think they've had that good a record down there.
I think they pinched a couple when you didn't expect them
to. They play well, so that counts.
Yeah, that absolutely counts. Speaking of playing well, I got the red eye, overnight flight up to Darwin, and decided I'd play golf in the morning.
How'd you hit it?
Well, I'm
new cherry off the first.
Yeah. So dusted off the new agate.
Yeah.
Marked him up. So to get to the first tee. And I flushed one down the guts and started all right. I'm in a putrid vein of form at the moment.
Well, to give context, he told me last week he went to Brookwater, was it Sunday or Sunday before? Yeah. It was 0 points after the first 4 holes. He'd lost 7.
No. I'd lost plenty.
Few donations.
I was teeing off on the 4th, which is the hardest hole on the course. It's about 1.5 K par 5. And I'm teeing off, putting the ball down, another marked up new agate, with no points. So in Darwin, and so if you go into Darwin, I played with Greg and his son Isaac up there, that managers at the golf course. Worth going and playing. So if you're going up to watch the footy, go and play golf there. So after 9 holes, after 8 holes, I'm starting to think, what would I say in my acceptance speech?
Flying.
So flying, had a couple of birdies, had a couple of nearest the pins, and then just blew right up. And you know these wily old golfers, the ex-captain, he sort of said, just be careful, it's out of bounds right. So I thought, no way, I'm going to go right. So I pulled the ears off it left, almost out of bounds left, then put the next one out of bounds right on the roof. I reckon it bounced twice on the roof, then it bounced on the TIO stadium. So in the back pocket there was an agate marked up with my name. Shocking. So, and I was uncomfortable because you know how you measure your nearest the pins, and I was 1 centimetre closer than the nearest the pin. Now that looks dodgy. So I made Greg put his name down, and I went from 19 points after 8 holes, and just hands and heels, can't blow up. Finish with 30. Just blew right up and embarrassing, and lost me nearest the pins, so it was shocking.
You haven't been taking tips from Ackermanis, have you?
No.
He's barred from Darwin. There's a picture of Lynchy not allowed.
Well, I was looking.
You cannot count your score properly.
Yeah. You can't measure your close to the pin. That's why I said I'm not measuring that. And Greg went, no, he was happy to put it there. No, it blew up. It was good. It was good good to get out. Nice golf course. So when you're up there,
Get up there.
Go and have a hit.
I don't know if you guys spoke about this on the show back when the Masters was on, but there was an image that went around on Fox Sports and it had your handicap on it, Lynchy. And you were ranked top 10 best ex-footy golfers. And I don't know what you play off, but...
No, I'm off 13 or 14 after the weekend.
Yeah, you made the cut. So
Really?
So who are the best footy players that you guys have played with?
Well, Goddard's off about scratch, isn't he?
Yeah, well, Goddard was almost thinking about trying to get a ticket.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
he was very good. Stevie Motlop was probably the best I played with, and Jack Watts. They
Okay.
were good golfers.
In our group, there was Chris Scott, Brad Scott were 3 or 4, I think. Mark Ashcroft was about 3 or 4.
Right, okay.
Lowest I ever got to was 5, and I've just drifted ever since then. So I'm about to change left-handed.
Champs is good, isn't he? Champs?
Yeah,
is now-
Champs is single figures for the first time in his life. So he's playing about 3 times a
That's
week.
what happens when you play 8 times a
Yeah,
week.
that's right. Yeah, so no, I'm a poor golfer. But yeah, no, that must have been a misprint. If I'm in the top...
Oh, I thought you
10
would
or
have seen
20.
it. I'm surprised you don't have it saved on your phone somewhere.
No, don't worry. I'm shocking. I get so excited though. Golf. Golf's one of those shocking sports.
I've played
where
with you. I know what you like.
So excited. You get out there and you're ready to go. You don't sleep well the night before. Then lose your first shot. That's deflating.
Yep.
Not ideal when you mark up a new one. And
Mark
she's
up a new
gone.
one, she's gone.
Can't
First
all
and-
play 4 times a week like you, Rocky. You got the,
If
you got the
only.
life.
I didn't play for 4 months, but I've played the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Need to get back out to the Grand. Anyone wants to give me a membership? Anyone selling their Grand
We're
membership?
looking for a sponsor here.
Geez, business is going well if you're buying one down there.
You and I can buy one. We need to get someone that's...
Me and
selling
I,
it.
no. I'm happy at Brookwater.
Yeah, we get it for free. I don't get it for
Hey,
free.
hey. No, it's not. No. No.
Don't get
Just
into
give
those
them back.
contra deals.
Well, that's good. I donate a shitload of agates out there.
All right, boys. Thank you very much, Rocky. Thank you, Al. We'll be back next week to recap round 10.
Look forward to it.
Thanks for listening to Ned's AFL Unpopular Opinions. Enjoyed the podcasts? Remember to like and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
What's gambling really costing you? For free and confidential support, visit gamblinghelponline.org.au.